Hey, welcome. How you guys doing? Are you doing anything? I know you. Are you busy? Sorry to interfere. Time for our Wednesday live or Thursday live stream. Today we're going to do FASTLANE predictions. That's the only thing really on the docket today. So once we get through this, we're pretty much finished unless you guys got something. So let's get into it. Well, welcome everyone to Three Count Commentaries. I am your host MongoSlade, and we're going to talk about this thing. This Fastlane, this very ill-built show. This show doesn't look very good. It's only 5 matches set so far, so perhaps there's probably going to be another match or two announced for this event. Um, but it looks kind of crappy, if we're being honest. This show is not very well put together, so it hopefully it over delivers, but we'll see. Kevin Abreu, AJ3. I am trying to fight. Look, I got the flu shot, and then immediately I feel like I got sick after trying to take the flu vaccine. I mean, look at how dumb that was, right? It was so dumb. The crazy thing is, I almost never get these damn vaccines. You know. So, WG Phil, how you doing? We're gonna get into the fast lane predictions. Crossface Ray, how you doing? You know, we're going to get into this in 1 second. So let's see what we got going on here. I didn't really know how many matches or what was going on with this show because it's the stupidest built show possible. But here we go. So here it is. Triple H is booking Fastlane and still no kickoff show. Yeah, very unfortunate. Um, this is the kickoff show, bro. This is the kickoff show. Kickoff show to what? I don't know. The Fast Lane to what? I don't know. Remember, Fast Lane as an event was created as the road to WrestleMania. This is. It was supposed to be the Fast Lane to WrestleMania. On the road to WrestleMania, which was a pun. Now it's the Fast Lane. It's October. Fast Lane to what else? On the road to Survivor Series? I don't know. Look, that's the thing that the creative director or whatever is supposed to be dealing with. It is pretty dumb, if you ask me. There's a lot of people. I guess we could address this. We could talk about this before we get into the fast lane predictions. That stupid event, really stupid event. And the fact that some people are actually gloating that NXT had more viewers this week than Dynamite. I was surprised by that too. But apparently AEW only had 800,000 viewers, while NXT had 850,000. The 18 to 49, I think it was, actually still favored AEW. It was 0.28 for AEW, 0.22 for NXT. Very interesting. Look, they're on two separate nights. It says a lot that AEW's that the day Edge comes in is, they said, the second lowest rating. Well, AEW Dynamite, here's from Post Wrestling. This is how they spend it. AEW Dynamite drops in the US, largest audience in Canada since August 30th. So, Post Wrestling is telling the truth and lying at the same time. The viewership drops in the United States, but it's the highest audience in Canada since August the 30th. How how friendly, how good, how nice of you to put like a nice little spin on it. So you got 800,000 viewers with a 0.28 in the 18 to 49 demographic, which is 364,000 viewers. Interesting. Tony Khan blamed it on transmission issues, which this is, wait a minute. This is the first time I've seen this. Here's his tweet. I've been told an issue is affecting TBS listings. For some reason, TBS lists tonight's AEW Dynamite at 4 p.m. Eastern. The issue is affecting DirecTV Plus Spectrum customers nationwide, maybe others. Please check to ensure that your DVR is set for the usual start time tonight, 8 p.m. And the TBS network DVR listing issue for tonight's Wednesday Night Dynamite is affecting Verizon Fios customers as well, in addition to DirecTV Plus Spectrum. Please check your DVR to make sure you have AEW Dynamite at your usual time at 8 p.m., 7 p.m. Central tonight. I had never heard this before in my life. This is all news to me. I didn't know this has happened. Because usually when I saw the ratings, and I saw that people were doing jumping jacks and, doing cartwheels because Dynamite had been outdrawn by NXT. I really just had the general idea of why do we care about this? It's on two different nights. Who cares? Plus, Dynamite would just pivot to what about the 18 to 49 anyway, which is usually their answer. And they did have a higher 18 to 49 with 0.28. But now I'm seeing they had transmission issues. It's all TBS's fault, according to them. These were very random and came out of nowhere. Never heard of this before in my life. WrestleNomics says the overrun was the peak of the show at 852,000 viewers and 400,001 in the 18 to 49. So about half the viewers were in the 18 to 49 demographic. It says Dynamite also aired against 2 MLB playoff games. Oh, okay, so there was baseball on. So that's why it was down very, very bad. It says that despite the drop in overall viewers, adults saw an 18 to 34, 36% increase, led by males in the demo, growing from 84,000 to 123,000 this week. Says it was Dynamite's largest 18 to 34 audience since June the 14th. Conversely, adults 35 to 49 dropped by 20% from 236,000 last week to 189,000, with a 15% drop in women. This week's episode of NXT topped Dynamite in overall viewers, 857,000 to 800,000. Females, 18 to 49, 116,000 to 109,000. That sweet Dominic Mysterio demographic. Y'all come to see sexy Dom. And females, 69,000 to 57,000. Oh, females 35 to 49, 69,000 to 57,000. So, NXT topped the viewership for women or whatever, and overall viewers. But it seemed like Dynamite might have more male viewers and a younger audience, which is not at all what I would have It's not out of the ordinary. Let's put it like that. It says in Canada, the show averaged approximately 119,000 viewers and 56,000 in the 25 to 54 demographic on TSN2. The overall viewership increased 31% from last week and was Dynamite's largest viewership in Canada since August the 30th. So putting the Canadians on last was a nice little twist. Anyway, these things are definitely two different nights. I didn't know baseball playoffs was on. I didn't know baseball playoffs was going to be a factor, if we being honest. But I'm not surprised if we being honest. The show wasn't very good anyway. You know, they blame it transmission issues, which look, you can blame whatever you want, really. Ultimately, what else are you supposed to do when there's nothing on the show for you to watch? I just don't know. Anyway, one last thing before we get into the FASTLANE predictions. Apparently, Hot Fire Myron Reed is actually going to make his Impact debut coming up soon as a member of the Rascals, which he is. He's on the Independents. He's a member of the Rascals. He's actually going to wrestle at Bound for Glory. So, wait a minute. It's not. He's not going to be at Bound for Glory. I'm sorry. He's going to be on the taping after Bound for Glory. So he's going to officially join the Rascals at some point as a trio. And they bring it back. Hoovy, the Juice, is going to be also at Bound for Glory. Look, the Myron Reed pickup is great. I like that idea. Myron Reed is a guy who has been, held with an anchor around his ankle in MLW for so long. He's still very young. He's going to be able to add something to the product. Absolutely. Bringing the Juice in is very interesting. Whenever somebody decides to dabble in the waters of Juventud Guerrera, I'm always down for that. So that's basically something I just stumbled across. So Myron Reed in Impact could be fine. The Juice in Impact could be fine. So that's basically it. I don't know if any of that will save Impact and make Impact more interesting. I don't think so. But every little bit helps, as they say. Every little bit helps. They're bringing Calypso too, huh? Huh. Volca King says the ratings for every 15 minutes are out. Those will be called the quarterly ratings. And the transmission issues were only a problem for one 15-minute segment of the rest of the show was consistent. I think that was when they also blamed the audio issues, right? Where they said that the audio issues for TBS was had cut out for the Adam Cole Roderick Strong segment. You know, oh, brother. I've never seen TBS look unless maybe I know TBS has new management now and they have new owners and everything. Maybe something's going wrong, but to blame them for essentially everything is it's pathetic, if we're being honest. You know, but they can get away with it because people want to believe that AEW is a bigger deal than you know. They got their asses kicked by MLB. I didn't know baseball mattered that much, if we being honest. Marvelous Mike says the Juice has finally come back to MLW. This ain't MLW. It is not. It is Impact, which is a step up from MLW, if we being honest. At least Impact is going to be on TV every week. I don't know about MLW. AJ3 is getting ready for next week's Tuesday Night War between All Elite Wrestling and NXT. Yes. When we make excuses for one side over the other, the transmission issues. Post wrestling. Look, I will give them credit. Yes, it seemed like they were trying to make excuses for why Dynamite was very poorly received this week. But it also seemed like they were trying to give it extra context. But saying, oh well, they did their best number in a long time in Canada. Like anybody ever gives a shit about what the ratings are in Canada. Nobody ever asks what the ratings are for a show in Canada. Who the hell ever asks for that? Nobody. Who ever asks for that shit? Nobody. Uh, Tony is the best excuse maker. I don't know if it's the best excuse, but it's a pretty bad one. Why would TBS or DVRs or anything tell them that Dynamite is coming on at 4 o'clock? Why? Why? Why would that? Why would that occur? I don't know. That sounds dumb. That sounds real dumb to me. Saudi is the next pay per view. Yes. Was it Crown Jewel? I heard that what they're suggesting is John Cena versus Roman Reigns again for that event. I also heard it's going to be AJ Styles. I also heard it's going to be LA Knight. I guess of the three, the LA Knight match is the fresher of the three, of course, because they've never actually wrestled before. Roman Reigns and LA Knight. Doesn't matter who wrestles them; they're not gonna win. But I can see that being the plan: LA Knight versus Roman Reigns, Cena versus Reigns. You could easily just make it Cena versus Solo Sikoa. You could easily do that, and and that could be more interesting. But that brings us to FASTLANE, because as you could probably tell, I am a little bit under the weather. So let's get into this thing. 5 matches, which means that each match is probably about to be 15 minutes, 15 to 20 minutes, and it probably has no business being so. With Rollins and Nakamura, it's probably going to be a half hour, if we've been honest. But they're not going to drown us in pro wrestling like AEW. These matches are going to be long, but it's going to be a short show. It might end up being a 3-hour show with skits and because I heard let's start right here. I heard Jade Cargill is supposed to make her official return or official debut at Fastlane. She's probably going to cut a promo or something like that, setting up her first feud. This show kind of needs something like that, if we're being honest. Because looking at the card is very weak. The card is exceptionally weak. It is a tarded show, if we're being honest. It's a really, really dumb show. And I was infinitely more interested in No Mercy than I am in Fastlane. Fastlane sucks. Looking at the card, it sucks. And not that all the people on the show I don't like. It's just that I don't think this is each match. I question whether it's a pay-per-view quality match. Or whether it's more of a SmackDown main event or a Raw main event kind of thing. So they need Jade Cargill to make an appearance and for her to do something on this show to make this show memorable. Otherwise, you're going to memory hole the hell out of this show. And in 2 weeks, you won't remember this show actually occurred. Capital Carnage level pay-per-view. I forgot that show. I forgot about that. They used to have all these crazy one-off shows. Capital Punishment. When they have a show called Capital Punishment or something like that, where I think R-Truth was in the main event and he was on the poster or something. I was like, what on earth? Great Balls of Fire. At least Great Balls of Fire was memorable because it was such a stupid name. And because of Samoa Joe and Brock Lesnar. But this event sucks. Match 1. The Judgment Day. Finn Balor and Damian Priest versus Cody Rhodes and Jey Uso. Because these people fight all the time, there's no excitement here. Right? These people fight all the time. They've been fighting every week for 3 weeks. Cody has been fighting the Judgment Day pretty much every week for 2 months. So what's the excitement? What's the interest here? I'm guessing, and I think a lot of people suggest the same thing, is that maybe Drew McIntyre will come out here and cost Cody and Jey Uso the match as a way of, I guess, protecting Cody and Jey. Neither one of these guys should be taking pins in terms of Cody or Jey. Neither one of them should be taking pins from the Judgment Day, if we're being honest. So I don't know why you would do this, because they're not going to win the tag team titles, which they shouldn't. They certainly should not be eating pins. So I'm going to go with Judgment Day. So I'm guessing that you're probably about to have you're probably going to have Damian Priest, if we be honest, pin Cody Rhodes with Drew McIntyre having kicked Cody in the head with the Claymore or something like that, hitting him with a chair or something. And that's going to lead McIntyre to turn heel and feud with Cody. It's going to give Damian Priest a win over Cody Rhodes to hopefully do something more with him later on, to him be on the short list of guys who pinned Cody Rhodes since he came back. And it could help him if he was to become the world champion later on. Yeah, I think a lot of people are sick of Judgment Day, if we're being honest. Triple H is pushing them way too hard. Look, it's working in terms of Dominic. For Dominic, it's been a revelation. For Rhea Ripley, it's really exposed how good she is. But the overexposure of Judgment Day is really pushing people away, and they need to rethink this. They need to rethink how they are going to approach this push of Judgment Day, especially with Damian Priest having Money in the Bank, and he's probably been the most useless Money in the Bank winner in a long time, as we mostly have forgotten that he has Money in the Bank. AJ3 says Judgment Day for the win, and then they face DIY at Survivor Series. Well, I think they'll probably still be fighting Imperium at that time. Again, Triple H has these storylines go forever. So you got a round robin of matches left, where you're going to have Gargano versus Kaiser, then Gargano versus Giovanni Vinci, and then the tag matches for Imperium and DIY. And then maybe Gargano wrestles for the Intercontinental title. And then maybe we get to Judgment Day. So they're going to be tied up for a little while. DIY, so will they make it to Survivor Series? I don't know. Maybe they'll do Gargano and Gunther at Crown Jewel. How about that? What would you think about that? Gunther and Gargano at Crown Jewel. Feels like a Triple H move to me. Do I think that WWE is petty for stacking NXT against AEW? Yeah, but that's the best thing about it. That's what makes it fun, is how petty and silly it is. They mutated my NXT just to piss off some AEW fans. I love that. I love it. It's stupid. It's it's very dumb. Black Sand 97, the only good thing about Judgment Day is the theme song. Well, I like Dominic Mysterio and I like Rhea Ripley. I just think that they're overexposed. Dominic is still very good. He's drawing a lot for NXT, by the way. When he wrestles on the show, it gets viewers. So, and I think people might actually be. I wish I had read the breakdown. I didn't, because I don't care about ratings. I wonder what the breakdown is for Mello and Trick and their angle. So, but I'm really thinking about what that might be. Crossface Ray says, Vince comes back, Gargano was the first on the chopping block. Ooh-wee. Man, I'm surprised. Triple H hid that son-bitch for 2 or 3 months before bringing him back. Oh, that was very sneaky. He had people actually mocking the whole Johnny Gargano's going to get pushed. And then out of nowhere, here he is in the main event of Raw at that. Woo. Woof. Volker King says, I remember people saying Dominic Mysterio should be on NXT when he debuted. Now he is their draw. Yeah, the having him on the main roster first actually helps quite a bit. Because if he'd have started on NXT, he wouldn't be drawing viewers. But because he started out on the main roster, he got some notoriety. And then when he goes to NXT, even though he's in an age bracket with a lot of these people and the same skill level to a degree, he seems like a bigger star than the rest of them. Do I think that they took the North American title off Trick Williams too early? Well, the point of it was to tell the Trick and Mello story. So Trick Williams losing, while wasn't my favorite idea, it makes sense in terms of the story because it's supposed to be Trick Williams breaking out of Carmelo Hayes' shadow. And what they did was had him fail to break out. Well, he broke out, but then the schism between the two of them, or his desire to be on his own, is why he lost the title in the first place. So now Carmelo Hayes is going to have the opportunity to say that he was champion, but he couldn't hold on to it. He wasn't the A champion. He couldn't follow in his footsteps. And that's going to be something for them to fight over and argue over or take jabs at each other over. And it actually just motivates people more to want to be behind Trick Williams because he got jumped by 5 people, you know, so I don't think so. I don't think it was a bad idea. I think it was controversial, and I think people didn't like it, but I don't think it was the worst idea in the world. They gave you the moment, but then they set it up where, it was a storyline reason why he lost the title back. It wasn't just, we made a mistake, let's abandon ship, because they had 5-6 people jump him. So, and then earlier in the night, they even did the whole, if you want to follow in my footsteps, yada, yada, yada. That's, that whole thing is what occurred. I do miss a lot of the goofy comedy stuff that Vince used to do. It used to break up the monotony. I used to complain a lot about the comedy because it was too much of it. Like, you need to have a nice balance. But now Triple H doesn't, I don't think he does enough. It's just the matches are getting longer and longer and longer. It's very, like this next match, match 2, 6-man tag match, Bobby Lashley and the Street Profits versus the LWO, Rey Mysterio, Santos Escobar, and either Joaquin Wilde or Cruz del Toro. Well, you can forget that last one. Dragon Lee is going to end up being the guy in this match. And if he's not, then Triple H is a worse booker than I thought. And I wouldn't put it past him to say, you know what, we're just going to have Cruz del Toro take the pin in this match. If he was smart, though, Dragon Lee would be the guy who would be in this match. So with Dragon Lee, Rey Mysterio, and Santos Escobar, they should actually win this match. But Bobby, because you're still telling the story of Bobby Lashley and the Street Profits, where they have to prove something to Bobby. They lost 2 weeks ago. Bobby was pissed. They not only came back stronger by attacking the LWO, which impressed Bobby. So you could tell that sort of roller coaster story with them maybe losing this match. Or you could just pin Santos Escobar if that's what if you would prefer. You could always just have the option of pinning Santos Escobar or having Santos Escobar get beat by Bobby Lashley, which is actually probably favorable to Dragon Lee or Rey Mysterio losing. But if you want Lashley to wrestle Rey, then Lashley should beat Rey on this match. But I don't understand why we just don't do Lashley versus Rey at this show. Why? What are we waiting for? This is a pay-per-view. What is? I don't know what we call them, Bobby Lashley and the Street Profits as a trio, man. I have no idea. Uh, it's it's I need to do something on this show, you know. But uh, Bobby Lashley made a comment that Jay Cargill will look good with them. Yes, but they don't have a plan. And since the plan with the Street Profits and Bobby Lashley isn't set in stone, and since we don't know what their upward trajectory is, why should we add her to that without knowing where that's going? You know, um, because what can Lashley's his conglomerate or whatever, he's not going to be the world champion. So what's yes, the Street Profits could become the tag team champions. Okay, like we have without knowing what the trajectory is for these guys, what the plan is, I wouldn't put Jade with them. You know, so she needs to be a star on her own anyway. You know, let her establish herself as a star first, and then put her with somebody. Where she can you know give people the rub or get the rub or whatever, but establish her by herself first. But I do love the idea of her and MVP being together. I like that. So if she's going to have a manager at all, it should be MVP. But I'm going to go with the LWO because of Dragon Lee. I think that they're going to pull instead of it being Joaquin or Cruz del Toro, it's going to be Dragon Lee. Match 3, Io Sky versus Asuka versus Charlotte Flair for the WWE Women's Championship in a triple threat match. Oh my God. Duh. Oh. I see a lot of people are very negative on Io. They think it's Io's fault that she's booked the way she has been. They've been teasing this breakup of Damage Control for 3 months. You know, um, the, here's what things should be, and I'm not saying that as a fan of this person. I'm saying that in terms of story, this match should be Io Sky versus Shotzi for the title. That's what this should be. Because Shotzi has been feuding with Damage Control. She's been feuding with Bayley. Io is a part of the group that cut her hair. Why is she not feuding with them? Why is she only feuding with Bayley? Then she's already beaten Bayley in a nothing match. And they just stopped. That was it. She beat Bayley. It meant nothing. Nobody cared. And it hasn't been discussed since. And she hasn't been seen since. So theoretically, if you were a better, more complete booker, Shotzi versus Io for the title should make sense because Shotzi should be trying to cut Bayley's hair and take Io's title because Damage Control cut her hair and drove her crazy. But Shotzi doesn't have the work. JS took it right out of my mouth. Doesn't have the work rate. This should be Shotzi's match. Instead, we got Asuka. Asuka has already wrestled Io and lost. And Charlotte. Well, for Christ's sake, everybody's tired of Charlotte. Why do I hate triple threats so much? I hate triple threats because they're very cliche. Typically, the triple threat concept interferes a lot with the babyface heel storytelling element. And then it also gives you a soft opponent to beat to keep another feud going. For instance, the triple threat match here is so they don't have to have Io versus Charlotte. So they've already had Io pin Asuka. So now we're going to give Asuka another title match, probably so she could take the pin in this match, so that they can protect Io versus Charlotte. Well, you could have avoided all of that by having Asuka and Bayley or something like that go into a feud. Shotzi and Io doing a thing over here, and then maybe Charlotte in Shotzi's corner or something like that. But instead, we ended up with this triple threat match. It's dumb. JS says feels like Asuka wrestled for this title 6 months straight. You're not lying. It feels like it, absolutely. Because remember, she was challenging Bianca quite a bit too when Bianca was a contender. I mean, when she was the champion, Asuka was in the title picture, and we just can't seem to get Asuka out of the way. We can't seem to get Charlotte out of the way. We're stuck in this rotation of these two people. It's really hampering Io. The damage control thing is too. Like, it's not really helping her. You know, we've been teasing this breakup with Bayley for who knows how long. You know, so I don't know. I don't like the idea. If you were going to have Io wrestle Asuka again, you should take it to the next level, which means it should be some kind of special match and not a nothing triple threat match. So it's a way of pinning somebody and keeping one of the feuds going while the other person can complain that they didn't lose. Then, of course, the cliche finish is somebody's going to hit a big move, and then somebody's going to throw somebody over the top rope or snatch them out of the ring, and then somebody's going to steal the pin. It's stupid. It's dumb. Everybody's seen this 100 times already. But theoretically, this should be Shotzi versus Io. If you were interested in storytelling at all, that's what this match should have been. So it's very, very unfortunate. JS says SmackDown doesn't give women much time, so they'd rather have the stars fight for the title since they only want one segment for the show instead of separate storylines. Yes, that's true, but it's still one storyline. If Damage Control is going to be the center of the women's division, it's 3 of them. You could have 3 separate storylines, or you could have intertwining storylines. It doesn't have to be Io every week. It doesn't have to be Bayley every week. And I get that Dakota is injured, so you don't have to take her into account that much at all. But if Bayley is feuding with Shotzi, okay, that's fine. But Shotzi should not disappear just because, you know, well, we saw them wrestle last week, so Shotzi doesn't have to make an appearance this week. It's like she has to do something. You know, Bayley still exists, so she has to do something until they blow that feud off. You know, Io beat Asuka, but it was cheaply. You know, Charlotte is there, it's cheap. But why does Charlotte continue to show up every week, even when she's not wanted or there's no desire to see her there? But Shotzi disappears. What's the problem here? You know, this whole thing started out interesting, and now it's gone to nothing. So I don't know, but yeah, they only want one women's storyline. They don't focus on Io being the champion. She's mentioned as being the champion a lot, but a lot of it is still Bayley talking on her behalf, and she's still trapped in Damage Control. Like, the idea was, I thought we were getting out of Damage Control, but this has dragged on for so long now that what is the point of us talking about the breakup of Damage Control? Because they've been teasing this breakup for like 3 months. Even before Io won the title, they were whispering about the breakup of Damage Control. You know, Vegeta Lover likes Charlotte. Interesting. You're one of the few people right now that's interested in Charlotte. I would be more interested in Charlotte if she wasn't wrestling for the title again. If she wasn't wrestling for the title again, I would be fine with Charlotte. But I'm tired of her wrestling for the belt all the time. And I'm also kind of tired of Damage Control. You know, we need something to. We need to mix this thing up some. You know. Yeah, they should have split up Damage Control a long time ago. You know. AJ3 says, if you're not going to break up Damage Control, how about adding another member? Well, who would be a good 4th member? That would be my question. You know, Triple H put all his favorite girls in this goddamn group. Does he have another one? Outside of the Four Horsewomen, he loves him some Io and he loves him some Dakota Kai. I guess Tegan Knox is one of his favorites too, but she's over on Raw. Letting opportunities slip through her fingers. Well, we will hope Tiffany Stratton is going to be pushed in a major way in this company, but there's no guarantee. There's no guarantee anyway. Everything about Damage Control is already random. There was nothing that really brought these people together except Triple H took over the company, and that was it. So Io is going to win. She's probably going to end up pinning Asuka, and so we'll end up having Io and Charlotte in Saudi, which, look, that's fine for a big Saudi show, but I have no interest in seeing Shotzi. I'm sorry, Shotzi. I have no interest in seeing Charlotte again. I don't really care about Charlotte anymore. She hasn't given you any reason to care about her. So, but that seems to be the direction they're going to go in. Is they're going to probably have Bayley take out Asuka, or Bayley's going to be the reason that Asuka doesn't win, or she's going to be the reason Asuka loses, and then they're going to pair Bayley and Asuka together. I can see that already, and that's something that we've seen that, but it could be interesting, I guess. But the way they booked Charlotte and Bayley a couple of weeks ago, or was it last week, was a debacle, and it was terrible. Not just Tegan Knox's hamstrings. Everything about her is basically is basically held together by blessings. It's all very unfortunate what she's got going on here. Rachel Buck, we already talked about Jade Cargill. That's why I'm ignoring you. We already talked about Jade Cargill. We've already discussed this. So you spam in the comment section about Jade Cargill. We've already been down that road. He said, Vita Lover says it's not random. Bayley is a heel. She wanted backup and chose them. Yeah, but what do they have in common? Why should we care about this group? And since they've been together over a year now, what have they really done? I guess they won the tag team titles. I guess. But it hasn't seemed to lead anywhere. It hasn't been going anywhere. I would imagine the point of Damage Control was to get Io over. I would imagine that was the goal. To get Io and Dakota over. Let's put it like that. I would have imagined that was the point of Damage Control. That the whole reason we even had Damage Control is we're going to end up having 3 separate superstars afterwards. Bayley's going to be able to take a step back, and then Dakota and Io would take a step forward. But Dakota kept getting injured. Like, this is her second injury since she came back, I think. They have actually did what they were going to do with Io, but it seems to just be dragging and dragging and dragging. And I don't see any end to it, other than Bayley costing Io the title and that finally being it, and Io leaving, which might actually help. It might actually save Io at this point, because I don't see any reason to hate her or dislike her at all. They've been champs with no stories. Yeah, that's been the big issue. They really haven't done much of anything as Damage Control. So it's just not working out. I think a lot of it is the stop-start nature of the booking, where they seem to be going somewhere and then somebody gets hurt, or creative direction changes, or abandon ship, something else is happening. And then they don't book Bayley in a strong way, where she loses more than she wins. And she isn't put in a position to put other people over all the time. Like these pointless losses to Charlotte and Shotzi. Her losing to Shotzi had no value. because it all evolved around Charlotte. So it really didn't mean anything. It didn't help Shotzi at all. And she did a pointless job to Charlotte just last week or 2 weeks ago. So you're like, man, as a leader of the group, Bayley is terrible. She's booked like shit, which is not her fault. Bayley is always, like, again, she's a Chris Jericho. I keep saying that because her talent is always going to be in her ability to take 100 losses and get back over. And it would have been easier to book her to take fewer losses, and therefore she would have been stronger. But we're in a terrible situation. The stop starts is awful. It's probably the worst booking strategy you could have, unless you're going to tell a story. Maybe a story about the individual performer. But the stop start is terrible because people never get fully invested. And that's part of the problem with a lot of groups now. The LWO, they had that big breakout thing at Backlash, and then they've done nothing but lose ever since. The only thing that came out of it was Rey Mysterio winning the U.S. title, which was, why did Rey win the U.S. title? It should have been Escobar, which, again, makes no sense. But again, push and pull. Escobar seemed like he was going to be the breakout star of the group. Then he ended up being the guy in the group that takes the pins. You're like, okay, whatever. So now we're going to bring Dragon Lee in, and hopefully that this thing is well, she's a work rate girl, Dakota Kai. She's the work rate one. Whatever. John Cena and LA Knight versus the Bloodline, Jimmy Uso and Solo Sikoa with Paul Heyman. I like this. I like what they're going with Jimmy Uso. I think more people are starting to warm up to it, because they have leaned more into the Jimmy Uso as trying to be the tribal chief. People didn't get it, how they were telling the story with the Usos before, how, the different paths that you can take from the twins going in different directions. People wasn't feeling it at first, but now they're starting to warm up to it. Jimmy is starting to really catch his stride. Yeah, the LWO has really it reinvigorated Ray. They held everybody else down. Zelina Vega doesn't even really wrestle anymore. But back to Jimmy Uso. He's starting to really break out and become something very interesting on the show. Him trying to beat Roman Reigns, but he's taking elements of Roman Reigns, but he's also kind of being completely disrespectful to Roman too at the same time, which is great. Because why should he care about Roman Reigns? He doesn't care about Roman Reigns. So we're in a situation with John Cena and going to give LA Knight the rub. Clearly, LA Knight and John Cena are going to win the match. This seems like a prime situation to set up John Cena versus Solo Sikoa for a crown jewel. I don't think you do John Cena versus Jimmy Uso. I think Solo Sikoa is a better choice. And then you set up for either, maybe you do Jimmy Uso and LA Knight on TV, and you set up LA Knight versus Roman at the pay-per-view. I think that's probably a better option. But I could definitely see John Cena and Solo Sikoa being a thing coming out of this. Cena is talking about, this being his last run, or, how grateful he is to do this and continue to do this and all this kind of stuff. It sounds like he's winding down, Wait a minute. Koshan Art has a really good point. Couldn't they have Carlito help the LWO against Bobby Lashley? Yes, they could. Theoretically. If he's under contract, they could. I've heard a lot of people say that he's under contract. He's supposed to be coming in at some point. I would prefer if Carlito came in with a counter group. Like if he was to come in and do like a reverse LWO kind of thing, or come up with his own version of the LWO. Like there used to be two teams of LAX. Remember that? I would do something similar with the LWO, where there would be Rey Mysterio's LWO and then Carlito's LWO. You know, and that's where I would get the idea of Santos Escobar breaking away from Rey, and much like the Temptation starting his own version of the LWO, in which Carlito comes in to help him, and then Rey would rebrand the LWO with like Dragon Lee and or some other guys. I would prefer that, but we'll see how that goes. But Jimmy's done better than Jay since the split, which is weird. Jimmy does have the better story. I think I like Jay's story. Jay's story is interesting. You know, Conan and and Disco actually nailed it when they said that basically they're doing sort of a CM Punk angle where Cody brought the locker room cancer into the company and is not taking responsibility for it, even though Cody wasn't the one that brought CM Punk into AEW. He tried, and then he got called out by CM Punk for trying it. But theoretically, that's what some people believe. So, Jey Uso as the locker room cancer on Raw is a good story. The fact that it's just now been covered in Judgment Day nonsense is it's it's on everything in Raw. If we've been honest, everything except Imperium has been, and Seth Rollins has been awash in Judgment Day. Yeah, but the whole point of it is Jey Uso is going to be brought to Raw so Cody can leave. And they just haven't done that yet. They just haven't gotten Cody out of the locker room yet. But I think Jimmy's story of I'm in the bloodline, regardless of what Roman says, I'm the new chief. I'm going to take control of my own destiny, regardless of what Roman says, is very interesting. Solo going along with it is what makes it, interesting. Because if he was just doing this stuff on his own, looking like a goof, nobody would care. But since Solo is like reinforcing it, people are like, oh no, this thing has become something. It has some teeth to it now. WG Phil says if there was a reverse LWO, who would be in Carlito's stable? Out the mud, or Axiom is Spanish. I wouldn't put him in the group if we're being honest. I don't like Axiom anyway. But I think only one member of Out the Mud is Hispanic, which I think is Bronco Nima. Yeah, I think Bronco Nima is Spanish. The other one, I don't think so. But you got the Garzas, Umberto and Angel. You could pull them up from NXT, and you could put them with Carlito. You could always bring back Epico and Primo, I guess, if you want it. I don't know why you would want to, but you could. Um, you could have Carlito bring Escobar and the other members of the Escobar cartel back to his side to abandon Rey Mysterio. You could do that. Uh, well, yeah, because then if you were to, I think the heat would be having Escobar leave Rey. That would be the heat. That would cause the schism between the group. Then you could have everybody, each individual, sort of sorting their group from there. Yeah, like I don't know about Electra Lopez, man. She's not good. I love her. I love her look, but she is not good. So maybe Lola Vice. She's Cuban. That could work. Uh, they need more like Hispanic women. That's for sure. Raquel Rodriguez could certainly use something different and something new. You know, My God, she is so bland. She could definitely use something new. The main event of the show, Seth freaking Rollins versus Shinsuke Nakamura in the last man standing match for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. Christ on a cracker. Rollins versus Nakamura does not feel like a pay-per-view main event to me. It feels like a February pay-per-view. You know when the world champion gets mired in some kind of mid-card shit in either February or May. You know, like May after WrestleMania, nobody cares anymore. We're gonna put this guy in the title picture because who cares really? Or February, everybody's preparing for WrestleMania, so we're gonna put this guy in there and nothing matters really. That's what it feels like with Nakamura. It doesn't feel like he's got an opportunity to win. And I think with this WWE Abema thing, the threat is that Nakamura could win. And that a lot of the Japanese puroresu, I know that people hate that. They hate when I go puroresu, but they're very concerned that the reason that they're going to put the belt on Io and then put the belt on Nakamura in order to really jam home that Japanese market and try to invade Japan. I like the idea. They're both heels, though. WWE probably would be better off if Nakamura was a babyface. You know, that's really what got them cracking in Puerto Rico that one time. Is they had so many Hispanic baby faces. You know, Bad Bunny. You know, Zelina Vega, Rey Mysterio. They jumped it off. They had so many baby faces. WWE going into a territory with nothing but heels. It's so dumb. Like they keep talking about, we're trying to get into India. How about having an Indian baby face for Christ's sake that people actually like? Versus, you know, everybody of Indian descent is a fucking heel. It's the same thing in Japan. It's like, we're going to get into the Japanese market. Okay, but Io's a heel. Nakamura is a heel. How about giving them a hero, somebody they can get behind, you know, versus them being goddamn heels? That's so dumb. It's dumb. Io might as well be a babyface anyway because she's doing all kind of babyface interviews and stuff in Japan, and she's a babyface in Japan. She's a heel in America, but I don't know. He loves that black and gold NXT, and so many other people too. It was very weird. Triple H sent all the Indians to India and showing had them all job out. All of them are heels except Shanky, and they all lost. Even Shanky. Shanky wrestled Gunther, so everybody knew he wasn't going to win. He had no chance of winning. But the idea that, I mean, it's a tale as old as time. If you are going to try to break into a different market, you create a hero for that market, especially for ethnic groups. You know, we could go throughout wrestling history. Whenever somebody was, especially in the WWF, you know, or Capital Wrestling, whenever you're trying to, like Bruno, you know, or the Crusher here in the Midwest, who was of Polish descent, the Sheik, Ed Farhat, who was of Arabic or Lebanese descent. He was a heel though, so you can't really say that he was like the hero of the Arabic people. He was a dastardly, fire throwing, pencil stabbing heel. So no, not really. But typically, when you create an ethnic babyface, you want the people to really get behind them. They will have to be a really strong babyface. You know, Pedro Morales in, you know, the WWF. When you look at Mexico or Puerto Rico with Carlos Colon or whatever, you really put so much emphasis behind the ethnicity of the babyface and really using that to get them over, how they are so similar to the people. You know, Japan built its entire wrestling culture around foreign invaders. You know, Giant Baba and Antonio Inoki coming in and fighting the evil white man. who trying to invade Japan, you know, or bringing his version of pro wrestling to Japan and all this kind of stuff. That's how Japanese pro wrestling was built. To now decide we're going to go in, we're going to be a major player in the Japanese market, but we have no big Japanese babyface is stupid. It's stupid. You know, it's so dumb. They had plenty of time to come up with a really big Japanese babyface that people can rally behind, and they chose not to do that. So my guess is they need to turn Io babyface very quickly, so she can, become the babyface in Japan. They have nobody on the male side because Nakamura has been such an evil bastard for the last couple of weeks. He's not going to be a babyface. Even if he wins the title, he's still going to be a heel. So you got nothing in terms of, well, Asuka. You got Asuka. She's a babyface, kinda, sorta, sometimes. So you got that going for you. But that is the reason why so many people are now starting to say that Nakamura is going to win, is because of this big Abima deal in Japan. I don't think it matters. I think Rollins wins. So I don't think it matters. Rollins is going to win. I think we see Damian Priest cash in, though. I think that's where we're going with this. I think Damian Priest finally sees an opportunity to cash in on the Money in the Bank. He walks out the World Heavyweight Champion. That's what I think. If WWE did not cut Ike Manjiro from NXT, could he be the big babyface in Japan? No. He just didn't have the notoriety. He was too young. He hadn't been on the roster at all. It would have depended on, they would have had to book him much stronger than they had ever booked him before in order for him to be like a big babyface in the United States and then translate that over to Japan. He was a small guy too. He was too small. So no. I don't think so. So I think that Rollins wins, Nakamura fails. I don't know what you do with Nakamura after he loses, but they may do a double swerve where Nakamura wins the title and then loses it to Damian Priest, which that would suck if we're being honest. And yeah, the booking 101 tells you that Nakamura had this upper hand for several weeks. So babyface Rollins is in the hole. He's got to crawl out of the hole. And is it possible, however, let's throw this piece of red meat out there. Is it possible that Cody Rhodes and Jey Uso actually win the tag team championships? And then Rhea Ripley is pissed that the boys lost. And to make it up to her, Damian Priest cashes in his Money in the Bank and wins the world title. Because, again, they've been teasing this breakup with Judgment Day for a while, too. The Finn Balor, Damian Priest heat, they've been building that up, too. And I can tell that they're dragging Damage Control along to do the War Games. And they're dragging Judgment Day along to do the War Games, too. And they're probably going to do the breakups afterwards. So, if they don't put the belt on Priest soon, look, I'm not saying there needs to be a rush. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying it wouldn't make sense because the whole thing is they're telling this story about Rollins fighting from underneath. You kind of need to have him fail eventually, and in order to get him some more sympathy. And I think the best way to do that is for him to fall to that 1-on-5 pressure. 5 different people interfering and with the broken back and everything, and then he finally drops the belt. I think that's a very sympathetic story. And then you put him in a chase position, have him chase Priest a little bit. Maybe that works. But let's see. You got JD McDonough, Damian Priest, Finn Balor, Dominic Mysterio. That's 4 members of Judgment Day. On the other side, you got Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, Jey Uso, and Cody Rhodes. That's the babyface alliance. Maybe you could swap out Cody for Seth Rollins. But that might be the only reason why I would suggest that they don't put the belt on Damian Priest. Is because you have to then, if you're going to do the War Games match, you have to find some reason why to plug Damian Priest's spot. Like War Games are already supposed to be 5-on-5. It's going to end up being 4-on-4. So I don't think Damian Priest is going to win the title and then be in a singles feud. Unless they do like a stretcher job on Rollins and he gets stretchered out and he doesn't show up until after Survivor Series. But I don't know how long is Survivor Series from now? Yes. Yeah. That's the thing about the War Games match, bro, is that it's clearly going to be those 4 guys again. It's clearly going to be those guys again, man. They literally have not built up anybody else in that situation. They literally haven't built up anybody else in that situation. So this is what we stuck with. The same fucking guys that it's been the whole time. So I don't know. But since they insist on doing a War Games match and they've been putting all this effort behind Judgment Day, it's the only option that they got, really. The only option you got is to have the Judgment Day versus the guys they've been fighting every week. Who else you got? What else can you do? All right, that's FASTLANE. Nakamura's got no chance in hell. It's been a good run with him as a heel, but you can forget it. He's not going to win the title. I think there's a bigger chance of Damian Priest winning the belt. I do think we'll see Dragon Lee be brought in to partner with the LWO. It would be nice if it was Carlito, but I think it's going to be Dragon Lee. I think Jade Cargill will show up. She's probably going to do an in-ring promo or something leading to her first feud, which is what I would do. Have her say a couple of words, just to get out in front of the people, get out in front of the crowd, say who she is, and then prepare for her debut. I probably wouldn't do her debut immediately. I would just have her come out, talk, and then put herself over. And then the next week or Monday, I would have her do it again. And then maybe you have somebody interrupt her that time. Who would it be, though? I don't know. Should it be a top girl? No. It shouldn't be Rhea. It shouldn't be Nia. It shouldn't be Raquel. It should be somebody she can go over on, but who also kind of needs the rub. Somebody who needs the spotlight, but shouldn't go over. Who would be a Candice LeRae kind of deal, right? Maybe. Or Indy Hartwell or something like that. I could see them doing that. And then you could lead to Jade Cargill's big first match. Maybe you could do her first match on Raw. And then maybe build up to a bigger match at the pay-per-view. But I definitely think she needs to wrestle on the Saudi show. She needs to be at that show. And I think they built up Jade to the point where she doesn't need to be in the title picture. Save that. Save her being in the title picture. Build her up slowly over time with feuds and angles and story. Mostly story. She doesn't need to be hitting people with chairs and shit yet. She doesn't really need to be taking bumps yet. But I think if she was like in a feud with Candice LeRae, she can learn something. Because Candice LeRae, if nothing else, is a work rate girl. And she's older than Jade. She's got more experience than Jade. She could teach Jade something. Yeah, a lot of people. It took me a while to even come up with her name because I was thinking of like who could it be that she could feud with, and I was trying to think of it. I was like, it has to be somebody who's in that midway point that can get the rub, but they're not really going anywhere. And if it was Natalya, I would I'd flip everything in my house upside down. So it would have to be like an Indy Hartwell who has more experience than Jade, but she's not good. She sucks. So it would have to be Candice LeRae. That would be your only other option, you know? But it took me a while to come to that name. When is Triple H going to call up anyone from NXT besides Dragon Lee? Well, I don't know what the hell they're doing with Dragon Lee anyway, if we're being honest. But I think ultimately he might end up being the North American champion uh, out of this whole Dominic Mysterio situation. Which is what I believe Dominic won the title back so he could drop it to Dragon Lee. So, or maybe drop it back to Trick Williams. Who knows? Trick Williams I think him getting over surprised a lot of people to a degree. But they're really kind of pushing Dragon Lee kind of fast. I like it because I like Dragon Lee, but it's an interesting thing. So I definitely think he's going to end up taking Cruz del Toro or Joaquin Wilde's spot. It's not really their spot, but whatever. Yeah, almost none of Triple H's guys are over, so we're in a weird position where he's pushing guys and most of them just aren't clicking. They probably should have added another member to Judgment Day by now to make it a 5-man team. Who else could they add? I don't know. And now I'm at the point where I don't care about Judgment Day, so it don't matter anymore. I don't think Tiffany Stratton's getting called up anytime soon. Her promos are still too rough. And plus, she's become pretty much a bigger star in NXT. She doesn't need to be on the main roster yet. She can do a lot more in NXT. They gave her the notoriety of wrestling Becky Lynch. I don't know where she goes from there because now that she's wrestled Becky and they've shown how good she is, but you don't want to clog the women's division up. If you clog the women's division up by having too many contenders, then people have to start beating each other in order to create the hierarchy. So you don't want Jade in there because you don't want her taking pointless losses. You don't want to put Tiffany Stratton in there for the same reason. So what you want to do is you want to titrate it. You want to add them over time. So since the main event of the women's division is Rhea Ripley, Raquel Rodriguez, and Nia Jax right now, let them figure that out. You have Jade Cargill on another track where she's a new girl. She's debuting. She's going to be doing some upper mid-card stuff. Not main event stuff, but some upper mid-card stuff. You raise somebody up, or if you had somebody there already, which they don't, you could have them feud with Jade Cargill. And she have her own feud. And then I think that's better for her. And then once the Rhea Ripley situation has cleared up, then you move Jade Cargill into that position. But you're also at the idea that the Rumble is coming up soon. So what do you do there? But a lot of the people, because interestingly enough, they have a good problem because they have so many women that could be top girls. You do have to ask the question, okay, who wins the Royal Rumble? Bianca Belair is not the champion. She doesn't need to win the Royal Rumble, really. But the idea is, could it be Charlotte and Bianca at WrestleMania? Or could it be Charlotte and Jade at WrestleMania? Or could it be Bianca and Rhea Ripley at WrestleMania? Well, she would need to win the Royal Rumble to wrestle Rhea Ripley. She wouldn't need the Royal Rumble to wrestle Charlotte or Jade. You could just put Jade on SmackDown, which it doesn't seem like they're going to do. I've heard they're going to put her on Raw. So if they're going to put Jade on Raw, then it's an interpromotional match, I guess you could say. Not like it matters. But I think you stick with Bianca and Charlotte at WrestleMania for the title. And maybe you do Bayley and Io. Matter of fact, that should have been blown up by the Rumble. Hopefully Damage Control is no more about Royal Rumble. But that's kind of how I'm looking at things. I'm trying to look at things from WrestleMania till now, but there's so much stuff changing and people coming in that I didn't expect. And then there's people who are supposedly under contract, but they're not doing anything yet, you know. And then there's stuff that's been floating around like Nick Aldis and all this kind of stuff that's floating around. I'm like, wait a minute, there's a lot going on that we don't see. So I don't know what the WrestleMania plans are. So now we're looking at it from Survivor Series to today, and that looks like Raw being the exact same shit it's been for the last 6 months. So get prepared for that. How do you be in a stable for a year and not get much? Well, when the bookers just book for you to have matches and no real story. I mean, I guess they had a story with Bianca and Becky Lynch, but that seemed a lifetime ago now. And the story with Bayley and Becky Lynch seemed to go on for a long time. Because remember, it started with the creation of Damage Control, and then it just ended with when Becky Lynch got snatched out of that feud and put into the feud with Trish Stratus. So Damage Control has been together for so long, and most of it has been them fighting Becky Lynch. And trading the tag team titles with her and Liv Morgan. And I forgot Liv Morgan was there for a little while. And then Liv got hurt. I think that derailed a lot, Liv getting injured. But they haven't been doing much of anything. Why do I want Tyler Bate to turn heel? Because he's boring. I mean, is it really more in depth than that? He's fucking boring. He needs something to do. Why should he continue to keep coming out there doing the same thing over and over and over and over and over and over? He's boring. Do something else. He's too talented for you to fire him for no good reason, especially since we don't know what he's got in terms of being a heel. So I want to see it before I decide to, get rid of this fucking kid. He's still very young. He's like 26. You don't just give up on like a under 30 unless he's, the worst in the world. No matter how terrible he is, if he's 25, you give him a chance. If he's 35, then maybe. But at 25, you don't want to give up on a 25-year-old. But like they gave up on Chris Masters. They gave up on him kind of young. But you don't want to give up on the guy. But he's super fucking boring. And he's been pointless for 3 fucking years. Oh God, it's awful. Yeah, the Shotzi thing led to a whole new Shotzi. And then they just dropped it. Like, you know what? We don't care anymore. And just threw that toy away. It was so stupid. Especially since it had such potential. And that's really why I get so hung up on that one. Because there's a tremendous amount of potential to be had with Shotzi. And she was getting better in the ring. Her promos weren't getting any better, but just what can you do? They went through all the trouble of cutting her hair, creating these vignettes, do all this stuff just for her to have a match that ends with assistance, and then that's it. Pretty much. Nah, Kaiser is far more charismatic. They're all very different. Tyler Bate literally has nothing going for him. Literally. He's not charismatic. He's just a good wrestler. Ilya Dragunov is intensity personified. He's, the reincarnation of Chris Benoit. And Ludwig Kaiser, he is highly charismatic. He's in Imperium, and it works for him. Imperium feels like a group that he would be a part of. It's just European elegance. I love Ludwig Kaiser. He's great. Do I think they'll do something with Bo Dallas and Alexa Bliss? No, because Alexa Bliss is about to have that baby, or she's already had it, and she ain't coming back no time soon. So, no. And I don't think I've heard those silly stories that they're going to try to continue Bray Wyatt's story without him. Get the hell out of here! Don't do that. Why would you do that? That's the dumbest thing in the world. Don't even bother. The best thing you could do for the family now is sell merchandise. Just keep the merchandise relevant. keep putting him in the video games and stuff like that so the family can get money. That's the best you could do. Don't try to continue the storyline with him not being in it because it's not gonna fucking work. It ain't gonna do nothing but piss people off because he's not coming back. You know. So I never even heard of no shit like that before. A guy dies and we're gonna continue the storyline without him. That's crazy. How do you do that? This ain't the fucking Crow. This ain't Dark Knight Rises. You can't just edit the movie without the fucking guy in it. Come on. You can't do that. All right. Let's wrap this thing up. Thank you guys for your time. I'll talk to you guys later, man. Peace out.